Attorney Nathan Fitzpatrick, personalinjuryatl.com. I get a lot of questions from clients all the time. How is the at-fault party determined in an auto accident case, whether it be a trucking case or a run-of-the-mill car wreck case? With that being said, it's easy. In Georgia, we're a comparative fault state. When you look at cases, you got to look at what percentage the other party had and what they did or did not do to cause the wreck. For instance, if you're running in the back of somebody, more than likely you're 100% at fault. If you turn left in front of somebody and fail to yield to the right of way, more than likely you're 100% at fault. However, there have been instances where I've had the opportunity as an attorney to represent someone who's injured when they in fact turn left and fail to yield to the right of way. Why? Because Georgia is a comparative fault state. I had a case where a client was hit by a drunk driver. The drunk driver was speeding, and while the client was turning left and thought they had enough time to turn left, they actually got hit by the driver and injured. In that case, they deemed 100% of the fault to be on the driver, who was in fact intoxicated and speeding, leading to my client to get a very, very substantial outcome. So just to recap, in Georgia, it's kind of a sliding scale. Most of the time we get cases where the at-fault party is 100% at fault, but every now and then we have to look at exactly what happened and try to get an understanding as to what percentage of liability may be attributed to the at-fault party and what percentage of liability may be attributed to your client. In addition to understanding how Georgia operates when it comes to looking at how fault is determined in a courtroom or in an insurance claim, it's also important to understand how fault is determined in real life. I always advise my clients to call the police when they're on the scene of an incident, just because the police are able to come to the scene, look at Georgia law, and determine whether or not a rule of the road was violated, for instance, in a traffic case. The police being there with the body cam, the dash cam, and their investigation will allow a claims adjuster or an attorney to basically look at an accident or look at an incident and determine exactly what happened, right? And it's important to know the law, because if you in fact violate the law, you will be determined to be the at-fault party because you in fact per se were negligent. Now, that's not always to say that's the case. There can be instances where there are other reasons for a person to be deemed at fault. Maybe both parties violated a rule of the road. Well, in that instance, sometimes you look at what the other party did versus what you did. And in that instance, a percentage of fault can be attributed to one party or the other based on how egregious their actions were. Another important aspect to investigating an auto accident case, whether it be a trucking case or a car wreck case, is also determining whether there are any eyewitnesses. Eyewitnesses can be critical. The police come to the scene after the fact, but eyewitnesses see the whole thing as it happens in real time. Documenting your case and making sure that there are eyewitnesses that stop, getting their information, getting their phone numbers, just being able to contact them so your attorney or the police can interview them about what exactly happened can be invaluable to your case. Because you want to make sure you've got people on your side, if you are in fact injured, that can testify and talk about what actually happened, not about what was said or what was done after the fact. A lot of times when people commit accidents, they frequently come to the party that they injured or the party that they've inconvenienced, and they admit fault. They say, "Oh, I'm so sorry for doing this. I'm so sorry for turning in front of you. I'm so sorry for rear-ending you." In those situations, it's important to have those eyewitnesses, or even maybe your phone on record so you can get that information. I can't say the number of times I've had a client tell me, oh, they admitted what they did was wrong, but as soon as the officer showed up, they switched up their story. It happens all the time. So when you're out there on the streets, if you get involved into an incident, remember, documentation beats conversation. Always have your phone on, even hold it down to your side, record the conversations. Just make sure you document, take pictures, do what you need to do to solidify your claim. If you're interested in more information about what I'm talking about today, please go to personalinjuryatl.com. We got a lot of good information on the website, a lot of good blogs that really get into detail about what we talked about here, comparative fault, how you can be 100% at fault or 70% at fault, and how that can affect your case, and also how to properly document your case and make sure you've got all the information to prove your case in court should it come to that. Visit personalinjuryatl.com for all your personal injury needs.